So you'll get all the money back that you spent because like they'll give you what, 70, 75%?
Yes. So that's the goal.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I own that 50-50. So I didn't have to raise any money on that because I got the pref.
And that was zero money out of pocket.
Yes.
But
And then the had build one was zero out of pocket for me too, but in a different way.
I want to borrow your brain for a little bit.
Yeah. So no money out, but can you tell us, you have 50% of the upside?
Yes, we're 50-50, me and my partner. So we did have to, the pref that we do have is we had to cross collateralize double the amount of equity that we took. So the pref is $1 million. We had to cross collateralize too.
Gotcha. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Light It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything there is about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, building your business, or investing, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Yep. Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
All right, guys, excited to spend some time today with Amanda Sokol. Amanda, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to hang out with you, learn a little bit more about some real estate syndication, some of the deals you're working on, and just learn a little bit more about you.
But first, let's do the lightning round.
Okay.
Audio Jungle.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
It's a tie between Burger King and
I don't take you for a Burger King girl.
I know. I worked at Burger King and Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and both were pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. And I'm a vegetarian, so.
Were you a vegetarian at the time?
Yeah.
Or did you become a vegetarian after working at Burger King?
No. And then people would be like, well, what's good? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like
I wouldn't eat any of this shit.
Yeah.
Wait, Burger King in Jersey?
Yeah. So
That's even worse.
One of the only places you can get a job when you're like 14, and I wanted to work. So like they were the only ones that would hire me. So I worked at Burger King.
Oh man. Well, you had that hustle in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who had the most influence on you growing up?
Probably my grandmother. Well, she's retired now, but she was the first woman homicide detective in New Jersey.
Nice.
So she was like kind of like, like a boss bitch, basically. OG.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from her?
I think, to be independent and, always be able to, support yourself, basically.
That's powerful.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like having these high-powered women on this platform.
Yeah.
We sit down with so many different guys, left and right, and they all tell us how strong and great they are. And it's great to have women from time to time.
Different energy.
Exactly.
Yes. What was the hardest decision you've ever had to make?
I guess, so I got divorced and I had to decide, like, am I going to go work for somebody or am I going to continue to do what I do? And it was definitely like a really hard decision for me because I work with a lot of like real estate developers who would hire me and pay me a lot. And I had like a guaranteed salary and I'd have, health insurance for my kids and all that. But it just, I think there's a lot of, I took a big risk there. So it was a big decision for me.
So you were working on your own when you were married?
Yeah. So basically when I was married, my job was to lose money, right? Like, so like as a real estate professional. So I still did this, but like I didn't have to do it to live. So I did it full time, but like basically it was to offset his income. So like my losses kind of offset his income. And then, but then all of a sudden I had to do the same thing, but now I had to switch it and make money.
Got it.
Damn, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely different. Lose money to make money.
All right. And if you had to spend the whole day with someone, whether they're dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I don't know. I feel like there's so many. I really like Anthony Bourdain. I feel like I would totally like hang with him. I just feel like, I don't know. I could talk to him forever.
I like that.
You're like, where are we going to eat?
Yeah. And then he'd probably be upset I was a vegetarian.
He's like, why the hell did you come here?
You worked where?
Yeah, it's a disappointment.
Awesome. All right. So, Amanda, for someone who does not know you, what do you do specifically?
So I am mainly a landlord, property manager. So I own 300-ish units. I try not to keep count. I manage them, but I also have on-site management. And then I have partners that manage some of them. So I don't like really manage all of them because it sounds like a lot. And so then I do a lot of like acquisitions. So like if there's deals I find that I don't want for myself, I'll either send them to like a friend that I know that would buy them, or, you know, just somebody that I've worked with. Like I have a handful of like land developers that I like working with that I'll send deals to.
Right.
So I do that too.
Nice.
Okay, so you're a landlord. So in the higher interest rate environment that we were in over 2023, was it difficult for you guys? Did you guys buy anything last year?
So I did buy. So I actually bought something the last week of December. And then I bought, so that was 27 units. That was in Haddonfield. And then I bought I think it was in January of 2023. I bought 40 units in Runnymede, which is like 10 minutes from my house.
Wow.
So, and I structured them like two totally different ways, but I've always been not so rate sensitive because I usually do really heavy value add deals. So, you know, it's like short-term bridge debt, you know, it doesn't matter to me if it's 6% or 10%. Where it matters is when I go to refi.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting now in my loans because it doesn't make sense to refi.
Okay. And I was going over your bio before we sat down today. And of course, what you just said, right? Buying heavy value add, small to mid-sized multifamily properties. So talk to us about that. I mean, where are you finding these deals? How are you, you know, I think some people may understand how the syndication world works, but just sort of in layman's terms, talk to us about your average process.
Yeah, so I don't typically do syndication. I tried to do a syndication for a deal in Osling, New York, so Westchester, and it was really challenging. I only had like, I think 3 weeks to do it. I've raised money for other people, like I don't know, 100 million or something, but doing it for yourself is way different.
Yeah.
And really what I try to do is just find a money partner. So I find like one or two people, they let me kind of run the show. And then, you know, I just split up the equity that way.
Okay. So let's go through like your deal that you closed on in December, if you're okay with that. Like rough numbers, acquisition price, what did you go to the bank for?
So this one was a totally different deal for me. I did it with an equity firm and basically I didn't guarantee the debt, which is the first time I've ever done that.
Good for you.
So no guaranteeing the debt. I have the management, then I oversee the construction, and then I have a small ownership percentage. So they did it with Columbia Bank. I didn't even like go to the closing. Like I didn't have to sign anything. Like it was the first time that it was really easy for me, that part. But then the management part kicked in this week and I had a CO2 leak. And so the easy part is over now.
Yeah.
Now it's,
So was that the one you said 27 units?
Yeah, that's 27 units. And that's in the town where I live. So I can like literally walk there.
So 27 apartments. What class would you say they were?
So I guess it's like an A town, but they're probably like C-level renovations that I'll take to hopefully A-ish.
And where did you find a Class C apartment building?
So I work with a lot of wholesalers. A lot of agents. I actually knew the owner. He used to run the football team in my town.
Cool.
And I had heard that he was kind of like interested in selling. So I had one of the guys I know call him. I didn't want to say it was me. So like I had him call and then set it up. And then I walked through and then we made an offer and it kind of went back and forth. And it took a while. That was in July.
Wow.
And I made the offer and it didn't close until December. So it took a really long time.
Were you intending on getting an equity partner in there from initially, or did that something that had to come in last minute?
I was trying to do one partner for it. And I ended up going on this like month-long vacation in the month of July.
Nice.
And my extension was running out. And I was in like Exuma and I had no cell service. And my attorney canceled my contract because he couldn't get a hold of me. And so I didn't lose my deposit. It was the right move.
Yeah.
And so I kind of lost the deal. And then I was just in a frenzy to try and figure it out. And I had worked with these people on some level to like raise equity. So I reached out to them to see if they'd be interested, and they were. So it kind of worked out.
That was Columbia Bank, you said?
No, that was the partner, the equity partner.
Can we talk about the deal size? How big of a deal was it?
Oh yeah, so that was $4 million.
Okay, so you get 27 units, 4 million, Class C, and what kind of loan can you get on that? Like a $3 million loan?
So I believe there's a construction component to it. So I think it's like 75% loan to cost, maybe, or they restructured it at the last minute because the proceeds changed.
Okay.
So I think it was supposed to have like $1 million for reno, I think.
Okay. So I'm not trying to quiz you. I'm just trying to get an idea. So you had to come up with like $1.5 million, almost maybe 2 million of equity.
So probably so I was like really hands off on this deal, like this part of it. So my other deal that I did, the 40 units, is probably a better one because I know in and out. Yeah. So that one, the 40 units I bought for 2.65, and that's 40 units. That's like a true Class C, really heavy value add. The rents were like $600 for a 1 bed.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea. So on that, I did $1 million renovation loan, and I used pref on that. So I am leveraged to 100%.
That's okay.
On that. So I have pref at 15, and then I have the reno. What was the debt? The debt's I think like 12, but I also funded an interest reserve. So I'm still on that. And I have 22 of the 40 units renovated so far.
Nice.
Wow.
And I've taken the rent from like $600 to $1,250 for a 1 bed.
Wow.
Like $1,250, 13. And then on the studios, he had people in there for like $400, and I'm at like 1,000. Like I'm doubling the NOI.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
So what was the total equity on that one, approximately?
So that one they gave me, I think, 80% on the debt, and then the other 20% I took out pref.
Okay.
What is pref?
Pref is preferred equity. So like when you have your capital stack, it goes debt, which is obviously always going to be first. And then it's debt, first loan, second loan, if you can get a second loan. And then next comes preferred equity, which just means they get paid before anyone else.
Yeah.
So, it's a really safe position to be in. You can do it where they have an ownership. You can do it where they don't. In this particular case, they don't have any of the GP, the general partner. They're just
limited partner,
just preferred equity. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Now,
and it's expensive.
Where I was going with that was I was just trying to explain to people that you bought 40 units for 2.65 million, and what I was hoping to get to was that out of your own pocket, you probably came out of pretty very little equity, right? Zero. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I was shooting. So
that's not like the standard though.
Okay.
Yeah, but like that, you should be given credit for putting together a deal, because a lot of people are going to watch this.
Those are my favorite kind of deals.
And they're going to say, "Oh, this girl's really pretty, and she probably just went to some high profile investors, and like they put in the money, but like, but she probably had to come out of pocket for something." And it's like I wanted to get to the point of it of just being like, you came out of pocket with very little money, put the deal together, and now you have upside.
Yeah. And I actually know a guy who thought that he could hire like really like good looking people to raise equity. And it was a total flop.
Sounds like every title company in North Jersey.
Right?
Valid point.
But like,
you're entitled insurance? Shocking. Yeah.
But like you're handing over like your savings to a person. You're not going to care what they look like. Like you care about their track record.
Right.
Yeah. Like, and I think he thought like, oh, they're going to be able to get money from like, these older men or something. And it just didn't pan out at all.
Yeah.
If you had to like give a percentage, how much of this you have figured out, and how much of it are you always figuring out, but when you're putting yourself in that corner?
Be honest.
I'm always figuring out stuff.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, I know construction really well. That I do know.
Why do you know construction so well? Like
my dad is a contractor, so I grew up in construction, and then from like the time period of like 2010 to like 2017, I renovated like 88 single family homes.
Nice.
So, like when you have, you know, there can only be so many issues in a single family house, and then you literally know everything.
You've seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it all.
Yeah. So you've got the construction experience. Where did you learn the capital stack experience? You know, who to go to debt for, who to go to equity for?
Yes. I worked for my friend who owned a debt and equity brokerage in Philly, and I worked there for a while during COVID. I had really tough deals. Like I had a ground up construction hotel, like doing a hotel deal during COVID was like, it was really hard. He was like, you only need one yes. And I remember I probably made like 1,000 phone calls. Like, wow. I'm not joking. Like I have 1,000 no's. So yeah, so that's how I built like a lot of relationships. And a lot of the guys actually that I did loans with like during that time are now huge, which is great.
That's
awesome. So I love when other people like do well.
Yeah. And how did you learn like the side of business, like acquisition side of things, right? Because like, I mean, to find a building that's Class C that you can bring to Class A and literally double rents. I mean, we all know from looking at deals every single day, right? A lot of times like those are hard to find where you can literally double the rent roll.
So I stalked that guy for a while, like a good 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would always follow up, be like, hey, do you want to refi? Hey, do you want to do this? Like, I knew the building was in bad shape. I knew that the tenants were it was bad. So when he was ready, finally, he did reach out to me and he gave me kind of first dibs on it.
Nice. Yeah. That must have been a great phone call to get, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda.
I was like, oh, like he wanted me to price it. Yeah. And like, he didn't have all the documents and I was like, it's okay. Like, I'll figure it out. And it ended up working out, but that was actually a really difficult deal. So I wasn't supposed to do that with the expensive debt. I was supposed to do it with a bank. And then the bank didn't want me to do the pref. So they had a problem with the pref on the deal. They didn't want it, which was stupid. And, you know, they say skin in the game. Everybody wants you to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And because I was being leveraged to 100%, they weren't okay with it.
Yeah.
Even though the upside was there.
Yeah.
I think what I'm learning from, and again, I used to do some syndications. I mean, again, this is like one of my first or second jobs out of college. I was like the analyst on the team. I had older guys who would throw deals on my desk and be like, you know, build this into the Excel model. And, you know, I would try to figure it out as we went. So I'm not going to say that I was like head of acquisitions at some prestigious firm or anything like that, but I've got some experience with this. But I think what I'm realizing is, you know, what you're doing in these deals that you're putting together are is somewhat similar or relatable to like realtors just putting together the sale of a single family house, right? Like you're out there hunting.
Just on a larger scale.
Right. You're hunting for a deal, or a seller or a buyer, or let's just say seller. You find the deal, you know, you have to structure the deal, meaning find the lender, you know, you're handling all of these things. But I think sometimes people are just afraid to have some of these conversations, or they think that they don't really understand it all, or that they have to have some insane amount of money or rich parents or someone to go to. But, you know, it's okay to figure out even deals of this magnitude as you go. Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing, just more money. Yeah. And I think you have to believe that you'll figure it out. Like you'll figure it out.
Yeah. But
it'll all fall into place.
It's a shame that more people aren't doing it, because it's like, let's just say the town that Haddonfield, right? I mean, we could go to a Haddonfield agent and say, all right, well, what does this apartment rent for? And they're like, they could probably tell you very quickly, oh, studio goes for 600 or whatever, a Class C. But if it's Class A, it might go for 1,200, right? So the people know the rents, they know how to prospect, they know how to put deals together, but they're afraid to put it together
for themselves
because of limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Amanda,
I think a lot of them think they need money too. Because everybody that I meet, they're always like, oh, well, once I have like a certain amount of money, I'll start. Yeah. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't really need it.
Yeah. How many deals have you bought based off of terms? Like the pref and like getting other people involved, just so that way you're not coming out of pocket much?
Oh, well, I started off in 100% financing. So that's how, with the single family homes. And then I kind of would leverage them and then just keep going with the BRRRR method, they call it.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I realized that I could do it on a larger scale, basically.
Yeah. What was your first acquisition like for a larger one?
I think it was more of like a standard where I just had a partner. And they just basically believed in me. And I think we did like, it was like 75-25. I have a ground up deal that I'm doing. Well, it's like adaptive reuse. And that's just like one guy, one check. It was like $1 million. We did a 1031, which I didn't even know that you could do that into a partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you become tenants in common. Yeah. So that was really interesting. So like every deal I have is honestly structured specifically for that deal.
That's what's incredible about it. It's like you find it and you figure it out later.
Yeah, like you have to, because they're not every deal is going to have the same capital stack. It's all going to make sense a certain way. You know, now like a big thing is the seller holding paper, right? Like that's the big thing. And there's tax benefits for the seller. And then or where people buy the LLC. That's another thing that's popular now because you can assume the loan and you can, the insurance doesn't go up and every deal is different.
So are you now in a position where you're like, shit, I never want to flip a single family house ever again. I just want to do these bigger deals that are at least 10 units?
No, because my single family rentals, I've refied them like 3 times and they're like the gift that keeps giving. Like I was all in on them for like $100,000 and I think now they're worth like $350,000.
Yeah.
And I used to rent them for like $1,500. Now you can rent them for $3,000. So it's like, why would you stop? I mean, I don't really do them because it's time consuming. So like right now I'm really just stabilizing the stuff I have.
Yeah. And
I am trying to do bigger stuff, but I do think you can do well just in single family homes for sure.
Yeah. So talk to us about the process of the turnover process. So you bought this building recently. I know you said it was sort of a unique one. Maybe we would talk about the 40 unit building.
Yeah.
As leases turn over, you said some of those units were renting for like $600 and now you're going to be able to renovate them and re-rent them for $1,200. So just as the lease expires, you're not renewing, right?
Yeah. So that's a whole thing in itself because really in New Jersey, you're required to offer a lease renewal. So you're not allowed to terminate someone's lease. Like they have to be offered a lease renewal unless you have like a reason.
Right.
So
are you able to share with us, do you just offer them a renewal at a significantly higher rate and they say no?
No, because you're not allowed to do that either. So it has to be within reason is the law. So I'm kind of learning all about the real intricacies of the law because I have a tenant who's suing me.
Well, if you own enough units, I'm sure there
has to be.
There are going to be more.
There's like 3, I think.
Yeah.
But one that really bothered me is for discrimination. I'd never seen the person. I'm not discriminating against you,
Yeah.
And he did a whole bunch of like frivolous lawsuits against me. The prosecutor like threw them out. But one of the things that I did do wrong that I just ended up just canceling was I gave him like a 60-day notice to vacate. And really it was because I needed to renovate the unit because the building was in such bad shape.
Right.
And it's just easier to do when there's not everyone in it.
Exactly.
Sure.
To redo plumbing and heat and all that. So I had to void that and then issue a 90-day, but it has to be 90 in New Jersey. A lot of laws.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. I was about to send out a 60, like literally in like 7 days. Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little rules and laws that I feel like you learn along the way.
Yeah.
All right. So as you're getting some of these units empty and vacant, you're using the same contract, obviously the same finishes. I'm sure it's pretty scalable instead of pretty formulaic, right?
Yeah. So I did the first 11 with the same contractor. It was just easier, have him do them all at once. I have guys that work for me that do like my turnovers and that kind of thing. So I ended up just having them do the next set because I wasn't in such a hurry because I was leasing up the rest of them.
Gotcha.
So like I really didn't need all these like renovated units sitting. And I knew it was cheaper to have them do it. So now I think I have almost all of the renovated ones leased up.
Good.
So he's working on like 3 right now.
Yes.
The guy who works for me.
But that's got to be pretty scalable, right? It's like, hey, these are the kitchen cabinets. This is the tile. These are the light fixtures. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, so I was trying to push rent in the beginning and it sat for a little bit. So I learned kind of, I'm never going to be able to change the location, the size of the unit, the closet space in the unit, right? Like I'm constrained by these things. So I scaled back a little bit on my renovation and didn't go full blown like I did in the beginning.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I kind of listened to people, like what they said and what they were looking for. And
You probably learn as you're getting some of the feedback from those showings on the initial 11.
Yeah, the size was a big thing. The people thought the units were small.
So size does matter.
Yeah.
All right. So you start leasing them up and you're doubling the rent roll. And now, of course, once you get, like, let's say the building stabilized, right? 30 something units, 35 units all leased up, and you got the rent roll double now. Obviously, you're going to go back to the bank and get the traditional financing.
Yeah. So we started to price it out to do a refi, but the NOI isn't where we need it to be yet. So we're at like a 300 and I need it to be at like 350.
What was it when you first bought it?
Like a 114.
Wow. That's great.
It was really bad. There was a lot of non-paying tenants. There was a lot of vacancies, like coin operated, like washer and dryers weren't working. And, there was a lot of deferred maintenance. So a lot of tenants weren't paying.
I think what people need to realize, though, is like the amount of stress and the amount of work and the amount of phone calls that are involved with owning, like, let's just say a 4-unit building. And it's probably not that much more when you're doing this at scale, right? Like for a 16-unit building or a 20-unit building.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to be a person who can handle stress well.
Yeah.
Like I don't really get stressed out. It takes a lot. Like I had a CO2 leak the other day in like the middle of the night, and PSE&G turned off the heat and it was like 20 degrees. Like you have to be able to handle that without bugging out.
Yeah.
But that could be a 4-unit building or a 40-unit building.
Exactly.
So, but you definitely need to handle stress, I think, well.
Yeah, and I think the other things I've learned too, like if you have, like you said, a landlord-tenant attorney who is handling some sort of issue with the tenant, right? You could have that issue in a 4-unit building. Yeah. And if you own a 20-unit building, that same attorney may be handling 2 cases for you, right? So it's all like scale. You find your partners, like you have, instead of, if it's a 4-unit building and you have a contractor working on 1 unit, in your situation, you got a 40-unit building, the contractor's working on 10 units. You know what I mean? So it's like you find your people and you can sort of scale. You know, it's just it's a bigger version, but I don't think it's like,
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
But just bigger.
With a purchase price of 2.65 for the 40 units, and when the NOI goes to 350, hopefully soon, what will it refi out for, and what was the construction cost? What would be left from there?
So my all-in construction would be $1 million, and we valued it at, I think, 5.5.
Nice.
Good for you.
Once that's completely renovated.
So you'll get all the money back that you spent, because like they'll give you what, 70, 75%?
Yes. So that's the goal.
Good.
Nice.
Good for you.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I own that 50-50. So I didn't have to raise any money on that because I got the pref.
Yeah. No, that's insane. Good for you.
And that was 0 money out of pocket.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the had build one was 0 out of pocket for me too, but different in a different way. Yeah.
I want to borrow your brain for a little bit.
Yeah. So no money out, but can you tell us, do you have 50% of the upside?
Oh, for the 40 units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, we're 50-50, me and my partner. So we did have to, the pref that we do have is we had to cross collateralize double the amount of equity that we took. So the pref is $1 million. We had to cross collateralize too.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Okay. So I imagine your agreement with your equity partner is like, hey, Amanda, I'm going to give you the upfront cash so that you could close on the property. You're going to manage everything, right? You're going to chase down that contractor. You're going to price them out. You're going to make sure the renovation.
For the 27 units.
I'm just saying for a lot of these deals, I don't know how you structure it. Like I imagine the equity partner saying, hey, I'm going to give you the cash and you're going to get 50% of the upside, but you're going to do all the management and the running around and organizing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like, actually that's what I am on both deals.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the leasing. So on both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you came out of the money anyway, you'd be doing the same thing anyway too. So it's like,
yeah,
it's true.
Which is
perfect.
And
I like doing the leasing anyway.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I like doing all. I'm a control freak, maybe.
Yeah, but that's a good deal for those investment partners as well. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Some of those people probably haven't even seen the property.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, we trust you, make it happen, and call me when it's leased up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you see those like syndicators that are like on private jets and like, like living their best life. And like, I mean, I don't know how they get there. I mean, it has to be on the fees they collect, I guess, the large syndication fees.
It has to be like funding towards the marketing budget to get more people to invest. That has to be it, for sure.
Because it's definitely a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you wouldn't really make the money until you sold it.
No, you're 100% right.
I mean, even if you refi, you're paying your investors back, right? Like, so you're not.
Yeah.
It would have to be the sale.
You're banking on the appreciation more than anything else.
Yeah.
Amanda, question for you. With the experience you have right now, what's one lesson that you learned that you would pass on to your kids?
To not set limits on yourself, I think. Like, people are always like, oh, what's your goal? And I'm like, I don't really have a goal. Like if a deal works, it works.
Yeah.
Like I think I guess that, it's okay to have goals, but I also look at them as like restrictions. Like I don't, maybe I'm aiming for something, but I just want to grow.
Seems like there was like a limit mindset before.
Yeah. I've never thought anything was impossible, I don't think. And I'm not risk adverse. You definitely have to be okay with risk. And, you have to work hard. It's not easy.
You make it seem so easy. I'm just like, all right. No, that's awesome.
I had a really rough day the other day.
With the CO leak?
Hot water heaters, the CO. I keep calling it CO2. It's actually CO.
Yeah.
But,
I knew what you meant.
yeah.
Well, thankfully, no one died. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, no, people were sick.
She didn't say that, though.
No, people got sick.
Oh.
I was like, oh, man.
Oh,
it's my first ever. I didn't even know what to do. I'm like, I guess call the fire department. That is who you call.
You're like, I'm still figuring this whole thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in there giving them antibiotics.
Don't call me.
Yeah. You're hitting their
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I can't help you.
That's too funny.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been great, Amanda. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I think people will definitely find it interesting, beneficial, and certainly exciting to me. I think a lot of people out there, especially realtors, looking at this are just trying to figure out how to buy, their first 2-family or buy their first 3-family. And a lot of times that's a good place to start. You sort of learn how to get financing, figure out how much money you have to come up with, closing costs, and what the bank's going to ask you for.
Yeah.
Trying to renovate and refi and burr. But then the next step could very easily be some of these bigger deals. But I think, again, I've said it a few times today, is that a lot of times people get intimidated by the big numbers, but they don't necessarily. The message I want to get across is you don't need all that money.
No, you don't. And find a good debt broker, honestly. Like a good debt broker. Like, I mean, I have an awesome one. And the other day it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I need a term sheet. This guy won't accept my offer. Like he wanted a proof of funds. And he did it for me. He's connected me with a million money people. Like you need a good debt broker for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say someone like that probably can introduce you to, some equity investors as well. Right.
Yes. And, they're very valuable and they have great relationships with their lenders where like they'll get things done that you won't be able to, even though, they want your business. A broker can definitely push to get you better terms. And I think they earn their money for sure.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, if anybody wants to reach out to you, maybe they have a deal that they'd love to send you, or maybe they just want to pick your brain about how to structure a deal they're working on or collaborate in any way, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
Like Instagram's probably the easiest, or Facebook.
Awesome.
One of the two. I post a lot of my listings on Facebook.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Do you want to shout out your debt broker for us to know?
Oh yeah. John Lombretti. So he's Progress Capital. He's like so good. And he owns a luxury car company in Miami. So he gets like all the hookups for stuff.
Oh, nice.
KIRO and I have been known to rent a car in Miami.
Well, yeah, but like he knows like everyone, like, cause it's like the car rental, so all the restaurants and like, all those places are so hard to get into.
Yeah.
And he literally has like every hookup, but he has introduced me to money people to, and he'll do deals that are small. Like some brokers get like cocky.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't care. He'll do whatever. Whatever makes money.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. KIRO and I rented a Lambo in Miami.
We thought it'd be a chick magnet. And
the thing was like, Somebody,
What
like,
happened?
I think somebody crashed, like drove it into a lake.
Yeah, it was missing all the hubcaps, like, or the things.
And the
for
guy who
signs.
bought it, like, just like put it back together,
Yeah.
and then just started
Oh.
renting it, and that was like his business or whatever. But we've got some funny stories.
Yeah.
We left it in front of the W Hotel, like went upstairs and showered for an hour or something. We came outside and there was like 4 girls crawling all over it, like just taking like TikTok videos and
That's
shit.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Other than that, we would be driving around. People would be like, "That's rented." We're like, "Yep, it is. It is rented."
Yeah, like, here.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was really fun.